It is my prayer that Trump gets in to office, and that what he does with that time in office is to put the whole world on track for a business plan. Those that opt out, opt out. Those that want to attack us for it, we will bring hell to their door. That's the deal. You're in, you're out, or you're pacified. Which of the three do you want? We won't start any fight. We're doing this kind of attitude. And we build a space infrastructure, both legal and physical, that answers lots of questions right off the bat. How do I build a centrifuge in deep space that has shielding that you don't have to spin? The foam concept makes a lot of sense because you can spit out massive installations of this floating, non-rotating foam. And inside that you put a centrifugal basket. A bicycle wheel, but it's completely open. You don't actually have to stop the gases from moving around it. It actually would be really easy to put fan blades in the walls between the basket and the microgravity areas and let air simply flow into the centrifuge and out through the center, cycling it around like a blow fan. Like a squirrel cage fan. The trick is that the main purpose is to provide an adjustable G rating in a given space with minimums for diameter of living spaces, because your head and your feet move at different distances when in a centrifuge. Because of sympathetic motion, your centrifuge inside of the foam will eventually cause a transmission of rotation energy to the foam itself, causing it to counter-rotate whatever efforts you're rotating until they balance out. You end up spinning the whole structure eventually. You're just adding energy. If you want to do that, you could actually do that. And that would be one way to do certain kinds of jobs. But if you don't want it to, then you need to place an equally massed and sized centrifuge in relationship to the other such that the rotation is exactly opposite. They can be on the same plane, one behind the other like a bicycle. It can be side to side like the front tires of a car. Doesn't matter. As long as they're rotating in opposite directions, you should get this anti-rotation. However, if they're side by side, you transmit a whole nother moment of rotation, right, where you cause it to spin the other way around the axle instead of with the axle. So in that case, in line with each other is good, but so are other forms that require lots and lots of these wheels. There's different formats. You can use them in different sizes, but generally everything needs to balance out. And I am at 4 minutes. Now, once in space, let's say you go to Ceres, that a big, almost spherical glob of high nickel iron planetary core, they figure it is, in between Mars and Jupiter. Okay, you go to the surface. Let's assume that you find a really raw nickel iron deposit, like just slab of the stuff. No flaws, just melted in spot by some ancient horror of the conditions. then you could machine parts directly out of that metal, and lots of them, continuously for a really, really long time, and use them as propulsion to eventually adjust the orbit of not just Ceres, but other objects nearby that you impact with or skirt with the outgoing loads. Okay, so out come lots of these struts in cartridges. And you got a robot, he takes a cartridge, right? The empty cartridge goes back with electric propulsion, just finds its way back to the source. And you start building on a cycler orbit with electric propulsion that you expand as you go across the side facing away from the direction you want to go. You just move the equipment to that side and turn the shit on. And let the computer balance out the rest. And you get your robot and you follow Ceres around and you stay, well, no, you don't follow Ceres around, you're doing your cycler orbit. So you build it in the cycler orbit, and Ceres sends out by MagRail these cartridges, right? With a railgun, it takes this shipping car filled with struts and sized to fit the struts and shoots it using a rail magnet gun into its orbit, which is pretty easy to do. And each one has electric propulsion and navigation, so it does adjustments for itself as it goes to its construction location. It docks with the robot that adds it to its cartridge, or it puts it, just like a bee puts a nymph in a little cell in the wax there, it takes that cartridge and sticks it in the grid, right where it can reach it, and it goes back to work. And when it's ready to offload a cartridge, either people or other robots, they take that cartridge and refit it and send it on an orbit to go back to Ceres. It does its own adjustments on the way back to Ceres, gets into a parking orbit, and is taken down by a little tug. It grabs it and drives down and puts it in, loads it up with fuel and rods, and the cartridge goes back. And you could build this foam and just expand it, and it'll go out past Mars, and it'll loop back around, and it'll come back past Mars, back past Earth to the inner solar system, even beyond Earth, and then loop back past Earth again, out past Mars, loop back around. And at each passing of Earth and Mars and the Moon, and Phobos and Deimos, people can onload and offload.